Can you solve all these Class 10 English Supplementary Chapter 6, The Making of a Scientist questions? Ebright was? Well done. All the above is the right choice.
When dash a school.
Great job. Did you finish is the accurate answer.
A truth, rule, law.
Nice work. You chose principle, and it is correct.
They dash already.
Good thinking. The arrived is the right answer.
She dash yesterday.
Nice selection. Phoned is the correct and valid answer.
How long ago dash it?
You chose did you buy, and it is correct.
What does Dana control?
Nicely done. Heredity is a solid answer.
Ebright graduated from.
You're right. Harvard is the correct answer.
Ebright grew up in dash.
Bravo. North of Reading, Pennsylvania is the answer.
Where did he come from?
Great thinking. Reading is the right choice.
Where did Ebright study?
Right choice. Harvard is the best answer.
He was an excellent dash.
Clear logic. Your choice, all of the above, is sound. Name Richard's roommate. Perfect. John is the correct choice.
Ebright is an expert dash.
You got it? Your choice, all of the above, is right.
What dash, like last week?
Excellent. Was the weather is a brilliant choice.
Where did Ebright grow up?
Exactly. Pennsylvania makes sense.
What did Richard's dad do?
Strong choice. He was dead is the right answer.
Where did Richard grow up?
Sharp thinking. Pennsylvania is the right choice.
Entomology is the study of.
Well picked. Insects is the correct answer.
What was he supposed to do?
Valid point. Serve summons is true.
Where did he graduate from?
Smart move. Harvard is an accurate answer. The dog ran dash the thief. Correct. After is the right answer. A force that opposes motion. Well reasoned. Friction is the correct choice.
I dash a teacher since 2002.
Solid response. Have been is a valid choice. What is the blueprint of life? On track. Dina is the correct answer. Who did Richard Ebright admire? Smart pick. A.Y. Hera is the correct choice. Which was Ebright's hometown? Good job. Reading works well here. Richard H. Ebright was famous. Correct response. Scientist is the most accurate answer.
Nobel Prize awardees are called.
Right again. Nobel laureates is a valid answer. Name Richard's college roommate. Excellent choice. John is the right answer. Name Ebright's college roommate. Solid response. James R. Wong is a valid choice. What was the only pleasant sight? Well done. Delivery man is the right choice.
How did he travel to New Mullions?
Great thinking. Train is the right choice. The dash is the blueprint for life. On track. Nell is the correct answer.
What qualities did Richard possess?
Good thinking. All of them is the right answer. Which book did his mother give him? Excellent. Travels of Monarch X is a brilliant choice.
What was he fond of in his childhood?
Well reasoned. Collecting things is the correct choice.
How did he expect New Mullions to be?
Exactly. Sweet and simple makes sense. To strike or bite with beak or teeth. You're right. Pecking is the correct answer.
Who wrote The Making of a Scientist?
Valid point. Robert Bitterson is true. On leaving Harvard, what did he become? Right again. Graduate student researcher is a valid answer. Name a bright social science teacher. Perfect. Mr. Ponders is the correct choice. Richard Ebright's journey started with clear logic. Your choice, butterflies, is sound. Ebright took part in County Dashed Affair. Strong choice. Science is the right answer. Which butterfly was not eaten by birds? Nicely done. Monarch is a solid answer. Richard Ebright is a well-renowned dash. Good job. Microbiologist works well here. What did he collect during his childhood? You got it? Your choice, all of the above, is right.
A single-cell organism that lacks a nucleus.
Smart pick. Bacteria is the correct choice. Monarch butterflies were not eaten by birds. Smart move. True is an accurate answer. Robert Du Peterson is a dash by profession. You chose newspaper writer, and it is correct. What groundbreaking research did Ebright do? Sharp thinking. Working of Dina is the right choice. Determine the dash and an dash of the cell. Correct. Form and function is the right answer. Which book did Elbright's mother give to him? Great job. Travel to Monarch X is the accurate answer. Dad, dash reading the paper yet? Right choice. Have you finished is the best answer. Which word means to visit to other places? Nice selection. Migrate is the correct and valid answer. What did Ebright start collecting in childhood? Nice work. You chose all of the above, and it is correct. Ebright was in dash grade when his father died. Bravo. 3rd grade is the answer. Where did he spend his summer after graduation? Excellent choice. U.S. Department of Agriculture is the right answer. What is the name of the scientist in the lesson? Correct response. Richard Ebright is the most accurate answer.
I'm afraid I'm not hungry. I dash.
Well picked. Have already eaten is the correct answer. Which of the following is a type of butterflies? Smart move. Both and is an accurate answer. How many gold spots were there on a monarch pupa? Good job. 12 works well here. Scholars acknowledge E as the first scientist. Great job. Aristotle is the accurate answer.
In the county science fair, Ebright presented dash.
You chose slides of frog tissues, and it is correct. Jack Dash in Boston for the past 15 years. Right again. Has lived is a valid answer.
He tries to grow dash in the presence of Betty's.
Smart pick. Caterpillar is the correct choice. Who is the author of the story? The hack driver. Right choice. Sinclair Lewis is the best answer. Who is the author of The Making of a Scientist?
Bravo. Dr. Richard Feynman is the answer.
I could not find him. He was hiding dash the door. Well picked. Behind is the correct answer. Who encouraged Ebright in his interest in learning? Excellent. His mother is a brilliant choice. What is the blueprint of life according to Ebright? Well done. Da is the right choice. Since when did Ebright start collecting butterflies? Clear logic? Your choice kindergarten is sound. How many students were there in his class in Harvard? Sharp thinking. 1510 is the right choice. Ebright's 8th grade project experiment resulted in. Nicely done. A failure is a solid answer. What is the full name of Ebright's college roommate? Excellent choice. James R. Wong is the right answer. How far was New Mullions from his place of employment? Nice selection. 40 comments is the correct and valid answer. Ebright tried to grow caterpillars in the presence of. Correct. Duvet is the right answer. What did Ebright used to collect during his childhood? You're right. All of the above is the correct answer. All of Richard Ebright's achievements started with dash. Valid point. Butterflies is true. At what age did he invent the theory on how cells work? Exactly. 22 makes sense. How many paragraphs are in The Making of a Scientist? You got it. Your choice 30 is right. According to Ebright, dash is the blueprint for the life. Solid response. Dinner is a valid choice. Which of the following hobbies does Richard Ebright like? Perfect. Stargazing is the correct choice. Considered in relation or in proportion to something else. Nice work. You chose relative and it is correct. Which butterfly did Richard Ebright find most interesting? Strong choice. Monarch butterfly is the right answer. Dash was Ebright's only companion until he started school. Great thinking. His mother is the right choice. Who is the writer of the story? The Making of a Scientist. Correct response. Robert W. Peterson is the most accurate answer. Which of the following is not a quality of a good scientist? Well reasoned. Monotonous is the correct choice.
Imagination is one of the prime needs for being a scientist.
Good thinking. True is the right answer.
Richard Ebright showed this in his first county science fair.
On track. Frog tissues is the correct answer. Ebright got the idea for his new theory about cell life from?
On track, X-ray photos of hormones is the correct answer. At what grade did Richard get a hint of what real science is? You got it? Your choice 7th grade is right. Apart from collecting butterflies, Ebright also collected dash. Correct response. Rocks, fossils, and coins is the most accurate answer. You better hurry, since you must get there, 7 o'clock. Correct. That is the right answer. Who did Richard write for an idea of a real science experiment? Great thinking. Dr. Frederica. Aqua Heart is the right choice. Dina is the substance in the nucleus of a cell that controls dash. Excellent. Heredity is a brilliant choice. In paragraph 21, what does the word louse mean in that context? Well reasoned. Singular version of lice is the correct choice. Apart from scientist research, Ebright had a keen interest in dash. Valid point. Debate is true. Which of the following is a part of the life cycle of butterflies? Great job. All of the above is the accurate answer. Which butterflies copied monarchs to prevent being eaten by birds? Good thinking. Viceroy is the right answer. Which grade was Ebright in when he lost at the county science fair? You chose 7th, and it is correct. What did he realize was necessary for winning a prize at the fair? Right again. Experiment is a valid answer. Ebright observed that monarch butterflies copy viceroy butterflies. Excellent choice. False is the right answer. In which grade did Ebright try to find the cause of the viral disease? Exactly. 8th grade makes sense. In paragraph 23 of the text, what is the meaning of the word principle? Perfect. A general rule is the correct choice. Janet dash for Smith and Brothers before she came to work for us. Nicely done. Worked is a solid answer. He had a great hunger for learning. Who is he being referred to here? Right choice. Richard H. Ebright is the best answer. When did he find the cause of a viral disease common among caterpillars? Bravo. In the 8th grade is the answer. How many species of butterflies had Ebright collected by the 2nd grade? Smart pick. 25 is the correct choice. It was his fascination for dash that opened the world of science to him. Strong choice. Butterflies is the right answer. How many species of butterfly did Richard Ebright find around his hometown? Nice selection. 25 is the correct and valid answer. What place did Ebright's project won for zoology at the International Fair? Nice work. You chose 1st place, and it is correct. The purpose of the gold spots on a monarch pupa led to Ebright's theory about. Well picked. Cell life is the correct answer. I would love to visit Prague sometime. Unfortunately, I dash there. Smart move. Have never been is an accurate answer. What did Ebright start tagging, as in the chapter, The Making of a Scientist? Well done. Monarch butterflies is the right choice. What is an invention that was created by both Galileo Galilei and Isaac Newton? Clear logic. Your choice telescope is sound.
Who did Ebright write to in order to get an idea for a real science experiment?
Solid response. Dr. Frederica? Urquhart is a valid choice. According to Ebright, what was required for winning a prize in the science fair? You're right. Real experiment is the correct answer. I dash in Italy for 5 years. I dash the work as soon as I arrived. Sharp thinking. Have worked began is the right choice. How many stories did Richard Feynman share about his upbringing with his father? Good job. 5 works well here. Francis Crick helped discover the structure of DNA and believed we came from dash. On track. Alien is the correct answer. What was Ebright's hobby as a kid, as in the chapter, The Making of a Scientist? Nice selection. Collecting things is the correct and valid answer. Name the physicist and chemist who conducted pioneering research on radioactivity. Correct response. Marie Curie is the most accurate answer. Dr. Frederick Urquhart requested the readers to dash butterflies for research. Solid response. Tag is a valid choice. Ebright got a hint of what real science is when he entered a county science fair and... Right choice. Lost is the best answer. At what age did Ebright surprise the world by explaining the theory on how cells work? Smart pick. 22 is the correct choice. Ebright graduated from which university, as in the chapter, The Making of a Scientist? Correct. Harvard is the right answer. Ebright became a champion debater and public speaker while he was a high school student. Right again. True is a valid answer. By the time Ebright was in the 2nd grade, he had collected dash species of butterflies. Great thinking. 25 is the right choice. Most of Ebright's experiments were on dash, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist. Valid point. Butterflies is true. Archimedes popularized the term dash when he discovered the principle of displacement. Good thinking. Eureka is the right answer. Ebright's major interest was in which insect, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Exactly, butterflies make sense. When Jack was at school, he dashed to play the saxophone. He dashed it ever since. Excellent choice. Learned has played is the right answer. What did Ebright do eagerly as a little child, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Great job. Stargazing is the accurate answer. Maria lives in Boston. Before she dashed here, she dashed in Seattle for 3 years. Nice work. You chose moved lived and it is correct. Ebright started collecting butterflies in dash hash, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist. Clear logic. Your choice kindergarten is sound. Using the laboratory's sophisticated instruments, Ebright was able to identify the hormones dash. Bravo! Chemical structure is the answer. Do you think Ebright was an eager astronomer as well, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? excellent. Yes is a brilliant choice. Thus, DNA is the blueprint for life, is another way of saying that the DNA contains a genetic dash. Strong choice. Plan is the right answer. The Making of a Scientist is the story of a scientist named Richard H. Ebright, brought to us by Dash. Well done. Robert W. Peterson is the right choice. What were Ebright's entries in the County Science Fair, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Well reasoned. Slides of frog tissues is the correct choice. Ebright began to lose interest in tagging butterflies as it was tedious, and there wasn't much feedback. Well picked. True is the correct answer. Which butterflies do not taste good to birds, as per Ebright in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Nicely done. Monarch butterflies is a solid answer. The dash, tiny gold spots on monarch pupa are necessary hormone for development of butterfly from a pupa. Good job. 12 works well here. What had Ebright collected when he was in the 2nd grade, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? You're right. 25 species of butterflies is the correct answer. What was Ebright awarded for during school and college days, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Perfect. Doing experiments is the correct choice. For his 8th grade project, Ebright tried to find the cause of a viral disease that killed all monarch dash. Sharp thinking. Caterpillars is the right choice. Do you think Ebright's mother supported his hobbies and interests, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? You got it. Your choice, yes, is right. The book The Travels of Monarch X was gifted to Ebright by Dash, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist. You chose his mother, and it is correct. Do you think Ebright's success has a major contribution of his mother, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Smart move. Yes is an accurate answer. Which butterflies copied monarchs to prevent being eaten by birds? A. Vice President, Viceroy, Vice Principal, Vices. Well reasoned. Viceroy is the correct choice. Whose suggestions and ideas gave encouragement and victories to Ebright, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Smart pick. Dr. Urquhart is the correct choice. Apart from being a scientist, what other qualities did Ebright possess, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Nicely done. All of the above is a solid answer. Ebright was an excellent. Clear logic. Your choice, all of the above, is sound. The school opens dash May 16. Perfect. In is the correct choice. I wish to see her dash the village. Nice selection. In is the correct and valid answer. Dash is the blueprint for life. You got it. Your choice now is right. Do you want sugar dashy or coffee? Bravo. In is the answer. Which book did his mother give him? Right choice. Travels of Monarch X is the best answer. What was he fond of in his childhood? On track. Collecting things is the correct answer. In which class was Ebright when he tried to find out the cause of a viral disease that killed nearly all the monarch caterpillars? Oh. Great job. V is the accurate answer. The cells from the monarch's wings would divide and develop into normal butterfly wing scales only if they were fed hormone from the dash. Nice work. You chose gold spots and it is correct. At what age did Richard H. Ebright excited the world of science with a new theory on cells, as in the chapter The Making of a Scientist? Correct. 22 is the right answer. How many gold spots were there on a monarch pupa? Excellent choice. 12 is the right answer. When did he find the cause of a viral disease common among caterpillars? A. In the 7th grade ib, in the 8th grade ec, in collegid, none of the above. Solid response. In the 8th grade is a valid choice. Who encouraged Ebright in his interest in learning? Valid point. His mother is true. Who is the writer of the story? The Making of a Scientist. Smart move. Robert W. Peterson is an accurate answer. What did he realize was necessary for winning a prize at the fair? Sharp thinking. Experiment is the right choice. How many species of butterflies had he collected till 2nd grade? Strong choice. 25 is the right answer. When did he find the cause of a viral disease common among caterpillars? Well picked. In the 8th grade is the correct answer. It was his fascination for dash that opened the world of science to him. Good thinking. Beautiflies is the right answer. Choose the option that lists Ebright's qualities as a young scientist 1. Being undaunted by setbacks 2. The effort to win for the right reason 3. Having a conceited view of science. Excellent. 1 and 2 is a brilliant choice. Parta. In The Making of a Scientist, Feynman's father teaches him 4 lessons using tiles, dinosaurs, birds, and a wagon. Which one showed an example of different color combinations and patterns? You chose tiles, and it is correct. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format? Right again. Contact Narayan Changdar on Facebook is a valid answer.